American chick to do it? They not ready. Welcome to Real Talk Radio, the show that says just because you don't attend with them does not mean that you're not in Him. The Him being Jesus. The show that plants seeds and water seeds, but God gives the increase. Let's talk about it on Real Talk Radio. This show is a continuation of the church folk revolution. Enjoy the show.
Yo. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Real Talk Radio. You know what it is. The show that says just because you don't attend with them does not mean that you are not in Him. The Him being who?
Jesus.
That's right. A man's in them. Welcome, everybody. Today is October the 12th, 2014, and we're going to be talking about a topic that's near and dear to everybody, I dare say, because everybody's dealt with this, but we're going to talk about dealing with anger, hatred, and unforgiveness. So, we're going to talk today, if you want to chat with us, you can hit us up at 661-449-9951. 5-1. That's right. I don't know why this brother just cut me off, but anyway,
you got to get a word in early.
yeah, because this topic is personal. It hits close to home, and it's a real time topic, a real time conversation that we're going to have today. So, before I get on my soapbox, I'll let the other brothers chime in.
I think we should pray first, because we might need a intercessory in the midst of this joint today.
Well,
might get kind of rough there, brother. Hey, Rob.
Yes, Lord.
You got your anointing thralls on. Why don't you go ahead and lead us to the word, bro?
Indeed, Lord. Gracious and Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. Thank you once again for this opportunity to speak to your people, Lord, and hopefully encourage somebody with this show. We hope that with this show we can help people deal with any issues of unforgiveness, anger, or hatred that they might have, that they're harboring in their hearts, and that they'll be able to get rid of that, Lord God, and move forward. And as always, Lord, it's all about you, never about us, and we just thank you once again, Father. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Talk about it, Elgin.
Yeah, brother, this topic, man, right here, bro, is a monster on so many levels, and I think that's literally a accurate analogy or metaphor to describe it. Anger is a monster that just seems to sit in the corner, and when it rears its ugly head, it dominates everything, and it just loses it. Me and you were discussing it earlier, and we talked about how it clouds our judgment. And I said, no, I actually think it actually removes judgment. But the one thing before I even pass it over, because I want this to be more of a dialogue than anything else, is the one thing that I wanted to say to people who are listening. First off, we appreciate you, and we love you sincerely. Share the shows with your people, man. Bring them on over so they can join us in this discussion. But this is not a topic that is going to be exclusively a church topic. It won't be just in the context of church. It will be within the context of life itself. Because there's many of us who are walking around with unforgiveness, hatred, and deal with bouts of anger who are just would be classified as someone who is angry, period. So I want this to be a conversation, man, where we actually apply these things to our everyday life. And when I talk about anger, Rob, I ain't talking about, somebody butting in front of you in the line, cutting you off in traffic, stuff like that. I'm talking about real substantiated bouts of anger where you find yourself struggling to think clearly and to act in a manner that reflects Christ? I think that's a difficult struggle, Rob.
Oh, most definitely, man. It is, and it depends on. It's a lot of stuff that plays into it, man. I mean, when you're talking about that anger that not only clouds judgment, but actually removes judgment, and I have to actually agree with that, man. That's like a really true statement. When you're angry, man, it's like when there's something that really, really gets next to you, man. It's like, all types of logic and rational thinking just sometimes go out the window. And, we're good at as a matter of fact, talking to our children, man, we're good at, trying to instill that capacity for logic in them. But, what goes on when you get angry? You know what I mean? When something makes you just so beyond rational thought angry that, it's almost like you're shooting first and you ask questions later. You understand what I'm saying? After it's so clear, and a lot of times the damage is done by you, then we have a capacity for rational thought. Our challenge is to actually get those feelings in check, no matter what it is, no matter how angry you might get those feelings in check and let our rational thought take over before we make a decision that we may regret. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. LL, good morning, brother. How you feeling, man?
Morning, brothers. I guess keeping with the rationale portion, there are things in people that would make you go there, and it's hard once you're in that deep form of anger, especially if they're not communicating to the point where they're apologetic for what they did, because as it's stated, hurt people. So they might not know themselves to be hurt after hurting you or before they even hurt you. And so when you have that deep-seated anger for them, if there's nothing that's coming from their portion to say, hey, you know what, I made my mistake, I did what I did, and I'm apologizing for it, I think that's when we stay in that anger, because you're not feeling as if they understood what they did, and you stay there. I've had that happen to myself a lot of times, even to this day, where certain things that people do, if they're not unapologetic, will keep you in that rage machine. And it's hard to let that go until either you do with time or until someone apologizes. But I could see how that's a holding force for all of those in and outside the church.
Yeah. And we're going to keep it all the way funky, man. I mean, we're going to keep it all the way 100 today. For many years, I was often referred to as an angry dude, and I found that label to be offensive, because I didn't just walk around all day, wake up in the morning, get some grits, and decide that I'm going to be angry. There was something that took place within my life that caused that anger. You know what I mean? And I think that's the aspect that I think people often neglect. Man, what's the source of you being angry? You know what I mean? There's issues and things that take place in our lives that lead us to that place of anger, particularly if you're dealing with somebody that knows you on an intimate level, someone who knows your inner workings, knows you. And then, like LL said, you throw the unrepentant, unapologetic, inability to communicate effectively on top of that. Man, you got a powder keg now. Now, Jonathan, you, bro, you just seeing red. Now, I don't know how everybody else deals with it, but I know when I get to that place of anger, I know before I get to that edge, I got to remove myself from that situation. I got to grab my keys, grab my jacket, and dip off, because I know I'm about to be to that place where I'm going to lose control and going to do something that, ultimately the person who has made me angry will regret. Nathan, what's your thoughts, bro?
I think we have to even look at it as when it goes from anger to rage. And there is scripture say, be angry but sin not. But it's difficult. When it talks about anger, and that anger switches to rage, where you could care less whether this person lives or dies.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was at that point recently. Now, for me, it takes a lot for me to get angry in the first place. It takes a lot for me to get angry. But for me to get to a place where I want you dead, you know, and I say put that on my emotions and not my heart, because it is an emotional thing. In Scripture, and I'm going to use the King James Version because everybody loves that version. The word sober, it's in there 12 times, all in the New Testament, sober. And when we hear that word, the first thing we think about is sober, meaning not drunk, not tipsy, or not high. But when you are angry and you're rageful, you aren't sober, because you're not in your right mind. And when you're not sober, forget the alcohol and drugs. Think about some of the things that you say to other people, how you treat people, and you probably don't even care about how they're taking what you're saying or what you're doing to them.
True.
Because I really have a lot to say, but I don't want to hog the mic. So y'all go ahead, man. Go ahead.
Well, when you say something about, not caring how people react, man, that's very true. That's why it's important, that we try to manage to get ourselves in check before we get that angry. Because think about it, when if someone makes you really angry, someone, pisses you off to the point where, you're just in a rage, like you said, you don't care about anything else but lashing out, trying to make that person feel as angry or angrier than they made you feel. So it's selfish, man. It's a very selfish thing, because the only thing you care about is satiating your own emotions. Oh yeah, I managed to piss them off, so I'm good. You know what I mean? It's real selfish at the root. So that's yet another reason why we really have to maintain, man. We gotta keep those emotions in check, no matter what the situation is. And sometimes it's a lot easier said than done. But it's something that we all have to give serious thought to.
And there's certain things, like I know what my triggers are. I know what is going to lead me to a place where anger is a distinct possibility. I know if you lie to me, I'm going to feel some type of way. If you continually to disrespect me, I'm going to feel some type of way. I know there's a certain things that I have to be cognizant of. We don't all have the ability to avoid people that we don't like. That's just not reality. There are certain people in our lives that we don't care for particularly who are going to be there for some time. That's just the way life has, based off of choices we made. They're going to be there. Now, we have to figure out how in the world am I going to be able to deal with this person knowing I don't like them, knowing that they push this particular button right here, this one right here. I know they're going to push that, so now I got to be able to manage myself in such a way that I keep, my communication and my contact with this person to a minimum. But even still, man, there are certain situations that we face where, again, avoiding direct contact with these people is not going to happen. It's not a possibility. So I think it has a lot to do with knowing yourself, knowing what your triggers are, knowing what's going to set you on fire, what's going to make you angry, what's going to lead you to rage. And I think one of the issues is, Nathan, is that a lot of people, man, are not, they don't know themselves in that manner. Because I think we've been conditioned from the church culture to avoid anger at any cost. At any sign of anger, run. And I don't think that's always wisdom, because when you know that you're going to constantly or one day have to deal with a particular thing, not knowing how to manage it or how to deal with it is usually you're really setting people up for failure, bro.
Lenoa?
I'm of the same thoughts as well as what Elgin just stated. But there are people out there that you know, and family and friends that will push those triggers because they've seen it done before and they want to constantly do that. And they want that rage to come out. They want that be angry at me to come out. And these are people who you can't deal without. Like some form of fashion, you'll have to be in their presence again. And that always plays on the back of your mind. And like, Edgar was saying, I guess the church makes the big statement that, forgive and forget. It's hard to forget somebody that hurt you to the core. And it's not unapologetic about it. And also, they really don't care, and they keep constantly doing the same things. And that's when rage can come out. And that comes with stress. That comes with seeing that person. That comes with, you don't even have to see that person. Just thinking of that person causes that anger to flare up. Just concentrating on that person causes the anger to come. And again, it's a lot of people who throw the I'm sorry around. Or someone had on their page the other day, go in the kitchen, go in the cabin and take a plate out. Drop the plate. Did it break? Yeah. Tell the plate you're sorry. Did it fix it? Didn't. So I think people don't understand about just throwing random, I'm apologetics and I'm sorry's out there. That means nothing. You caused the issue that has now hurt deep to somebody or some people, and sorry doesn't fix it anymore. Because your attitude and your communication or the lack thereof is what's causing this anger to now manifest itself. And you're constantly staying in that combative stage to where it can't resolve itself. And you know it needs to be resolved, but now that you got me where I'm at right now, the only way to resolve it is for me to go ahead and release some of this anger. Now, it's not necessarily fighting or trying to go at the person and bodily harm or anything of that nature. It's just to get that off your chest. Like you get happy off of your chest when you're happy. Everyone can see it. Everyone can feel it. They thrive on it. But the same thing with anger. You have to get it off your chest. And the only way to do it is through some other outlets. And, again, it's sad, but there are people out here, family, friends, and otherwise, spouses, that will take you to that point because that's just the type of people they are.
And I said earlier, this is a real-time conversation. I'm going to share something with you guys. Listen, audience, I've been dealing with something for, let's say, over 10 years. It's been over 10 years. And when you deal with something like this, where this person feels like they can say anything they want to you, any way they want to, but you feel like you have to temper your response and watch your words, and you do this, and you've been dealing with this for years, and then all of a sudden, it's just, you just get so frustrated with it. You're tired. You get tired of it, and you don't know how to deal with it. And I'm speaking of me because this happened to me probably a couple weeks ago, where I was so wroth, and I was so rageful, where I really did wish this person was dead at this moment in time. Now I don't feel like that now, and that is a very, very new emotion for me, because I've never in my life, I can honestly say, never hated someone to the extent that I hated this person a few weeks ago. And to show the hypocrisy of us sometimes as human beings, we'll say things about other people's stuff, what they're going through, and if you're not the one going through it, it's easy, and I'll say it's easy to point out the sins and shortcomings and failings of other people when you're not dealing with it, when you're not going through it. And I can say that because we all do it from time to time. It's easy if you're not struggling with homosexuality, you can stand on your holiness soapbox and point the finger at somebody. You can stand on your soapbox of looking at the adulterer or the liar or the drunkard. It's easy if you're not struggling with it. And I'm going to read a post that I wrote back on September 24th, and it came back and slapped me right in the face. This post says, "Life is way too short, and there is too much living to do to be walking around holding grudges. You may have every right to be angry, but don't hold on to it. but you don't know how badly they've hurt me, you might say. And that's true. But I do know holding on to that hurt is unhealthy. Confront it, discuss it, talk it out. Even if an agreement can't be reached or an apology isn't received, at least you've done your part. Now, see, I typed that not dealing with it at the time, never honestly having to deal with that type of anger. But here it comes and slaps me in the face. And it wasn't one particular thing that this person did. It was years and years of things just built up. And it was just this one text message I got that just sent me over the edge. But back on September 24th, I thought I knew how to deal with it. And real talk, I'm still angry at this person. I want to let go. And that's the thing, when you know that you should let go, when you know that holding on to it is unhealthy, but you just can't, and I'm just going to say you, I just can't seem to learn, I just can't seem to do it. I know I need to, I know I must do it for my own sanity, but doing it, walking it out, is so difficult. It's so difficult. And who do you talk to about it, especially if they had never been in that situation, they've never come out of it. So that's why I'm glad I got my brothers with me, who I immediately talked to them, you know, and they talked to me and calmed me down a little bit. But still, to this day, I'm still trying to forgive this person. Like, if I get any text message, my heart starts beating fast.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? My heart starts beating fast. I start getting tense, like, uh-oh, what did this person want now? But then I look at it, and the name from that person is like immediately
a relief.
Yeah, it's an immediate relief. And I'm, to this day, this Sunday, October 12th, I'm still dealing with this. Like, because it's like, what do you want now?
Yeah.
Now what? So how do I deal with that? And I'm asking y'all live on the air because I'm still dealing with it.
Okay, well, let us attempt to answer. And the answer is going to be, I don't know how you're going to get through that. You know, and that's just not to be facetious or to be sarcastic in any type of way, but the reality of it is that anger, a person's anger, let me put it this way. I've never felt as alone as I have when I'm angry. When I'm angry, I feel like there is no one in the world who understands my anger. You ever try to explain your anger to the person who's made you angry? And you try to walk them through the steps, step by step. Well, this is what led me here. This is how I got to this point. This is what you said. This is what I did. And they look at you like you were trying to explain Chinese math to them. And that place that you are so lonely, and I think that loneliness leads you to feel even more angry because you try to, and listen, the last thing you want to try to do to Elgin when I'm angry is to hit me with a scripture, to try to say something about what Jesus has said, you know, because now, on top of me being angry, I feel like you're patronizing me and insulting my intelligence because I know what Jesus said about anger. Right. I know that particular scripture. You understand what I'm saying? Now you're just poking the bear even more. Now, when the bear hops over this doggone fence and mauls you because you keep poking him, you know, you're going to get what you asked for. But it's a sense of loneliness, Nathan. And when you came to us and told us, brother, we didn't have no solutions. You know what our solution was? Bruh, you know, get away from the situation, bruh, step back. Yep. You know, remove yourself from the situation. Like you classically say on hundreds of shows, there is no ABC 1, 2, 3 formula for this. It's an individual basis, and for you, and what I encourage particularly men to do when they get to that level of anger, man, remove yourself from the situation.
Yeah.
Step away from the situation immediately, if possible. That doesn't mean because you remove yourself from the situation that you were on the verge of physical violence. It just means that you exercise your manhood by realizing your presence can continue to lead that situation down a path that you know there's going to be a unwelcome and the conflict is just going to continue to arise. So what we did was just give you some wisdom, bro. Get away from it. Step away from it. When this person texts you or calls, don't answer it. Try and again, some situations, Rob, are easier to walk away from. Because if you live in a particular house with this person who is causing you this type of rage, you can only leave for so long.
Right.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
That's
At
right.
some point in time, riding around town, you're going to run out of gas and get tired. So, you have to figure out some other options, bro. Go ahead, Rob.
Nah, you're right, man. I mean, just like you said, man, when you came to us, Nathan, man, we really didn't have any feasible solutions other than the immediate solution: get away from the situation, bro. Get away. And I mean, and like you said, LG, with men, I mean, we have to be extra careful, man. Because if you're talking, if we're going down that road, man, we have to be extra careful because just like Lenoa said, it's those buttons, and LG, you referred to triggers and everything like that, man. When somebody like works on that one part, like you watching a professional wrestling match, and then they just working on that one part of the body to wear the person down, right? So if they're pushing that button, man, and you react physically, you know what I'm saying? Especially with men, man, we got to be careful, man. We can't lash out. We can't go slapping and smacking or whatever, because guess what? I don't care if she came at you with a frying pan. When the cops come, guess who's going to jail? You're going to jail with a big knot on your head from her hitting you with the frying pan. What am I saying? I don't care if she hits you with a frying pan. If you tap that jaw, you, brother, you're going to jail for like 2-3 days automatically with a knot on your head. You understand what I'm saying? So we got to be careful, man. This is just one, thing, one consequence, man, but it's just so many ways, man, that our anger can get us in trouble. I mean, we can permanently damage relationships. It can be, that, or it could be just as extreme as us getting locked up. You understand what I'm saying? So we really got to step away from those situations immediately as men, especially.
Let me say this, man, and because this has always been a pet peeve of mine for years. I am so anti-cliche. I hate a cliche because I don't think they encapsulate the fullness of the moment. And it's this cliche that we didn't heard from kids. Parents was indoctrinating us with this foolishness. And it's that old saying, 6 and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. If that ain't the biggest lie on the planet, I mean, that is, listen, you want to be hurt, get into an argument with your significant other and let them bring up something that has just been between you and them and you thought was buried, or they hit that little spot. You know, that little spot that just takes you from 0 to 60 in just a split second. Words hurt.
Yep.
They hurt. And if you're somebody who is able to express yourself pretty well, you're able to articulate, like the brothers on the line right now, one of the things that my dad always taught me is that, I can cut you one of two ways. With my words, I can cut you with a cuss word, or I can cut you with a sentence. Meaning that the way I deliver my words oftentimes is indicative, of what I choose for you to feel. And sometimes I know for me, I have to make sure that when I'm angry, that I control my words. But again, Nathan, that anger removes logic.
Yep.
And sometimes, bro, you end up saying things, man, and like Rob said, you say something, man, and you're like, man, I meant that when I said it. I didn't mean it quite like that, but I did mean it. And you can't go back from it.
Nope.
Ain't no apology. Ain't no prayer that you can say. You done did it, said it, and now your relationship has gone off course forever or gone off track completely. So I think that's why People have to know themselves well enough to remove themselves from those situations. Give yourself time, and the situation time to calm down. Because I'm one of those people, man, who I mean what I say, and I say what I mean. So I have to be very cognizant of when I get angry on how I say things, bro. And that's difficult, man. That's difficult. Because, Nathan, you was going off, homie.
Yeah.
You were the proverbial bull chasing the red cloth. That was you.
And you know what? And for those listeners, you know what the first thing they said to me? First off, you need to calm down. That was the first thing they said.
Because ain't nobody got no bail money.
Right.
Son, I put some money on your books. You can have some red Kool-Aid and some ramen noodles and a banging prison ministry. Right. Keep on going down this path.
Right. I mean, I was hot. And you know, you talk about what you say. Because I've never, had never talked to this person. They never heard me talk to them the way I talked to them that day. And like I said, it wasn't nothing even really specific that I could say that pushed me over the edge. I don't even really know what it was that pushed me over the edge. But I guess it's like when you got that soda bottle and you've been shaking and shaking and shaking and shaking it, and then when it finally opened, it's like an explosion. Because like I said, I'm not. It's like I said, it's hard for me to really get angry. I might act like a butthole sometimes, but I'm usually not angry sometimes.
Sorry.
I let stuff go. I let it go off my back. I don't really hold on.
You okay, Elgin?
I was choking on his words just now because he should be, but I figured I will for him.
Bless it on the peace.
Almost fell out my chair like Damon Wayans. But go ahead, Nathan. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, real talk though. I might act like, but I'm really not angry. I don't hold grudges. That's just not my nature. But for some reason, I can't let this go. I need to. I have to in my mind. But I don't know. And that's why I think that being angry, when we're talking about being sober, I think that anger is way more dangerous than being drunk, than being high, than being anything, than being sad, than even being depressed. Mm-hmm. Because depressed, you really want to hurt yourself. But when you're angry, you don't care who you hurt. Like Rob said earlier, you just want that other person to hurt as much as you're hurting, and you're gonna say and do hurtful things to that person. See, I ain't never want nobody dead when I was drunk. I've been drunk. I've been high. I've never wanted anybody dead. But with this anger that hit me a few weeks ago, I wanted her dead. And I'm not talking about my wife in case somebody's listening. I love my wife.
You're on your own with that one, bro.
Right.
We will not be co-conspirators.
Anybody's listening.
Your boy is not meant for jail. I am not built for prison, brother.
I still want it. So this is not a motive. So, in case you're trying to pay CSI.
This is not how you get away with murder.
In case you wind up dead a few weeks from now, don't come back and listen to this show trying to say I did it. Because I'm over that phase.
Hey, man,
but
let's
at that moment,
bro.
Huh?
Let's take this caller.
Oh, we got it. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, let's take this caller. Caller from the 610. You're live on the air with Real Talk Radio. What's your name and what's your comment?
Good morning, fellas. This is Nikki. I'm calling. Y'all talking about anger, and I'm just sitting back listening to y'all. And I came up with, the person that angers you controls you. And I just ain't into having nobody have that much control over me to keep me in the place where I'm angry. So I don't know which one of you guys said it. I think it might have been Nathan or Jonathan or somebody. But I agree. You can't stay stuck in anger. That's too much. That's giving the other person too much power. Like, I'm not going to let anyone have that much power to keep me at an angry place. So it's better to talk about it, get it over with, and keep it moving. If you want to be angry and stay angry, then that's on you. That's the issue that you have to deal with. You know what I mean? But for myself,
how do you resolve it?
How do I resolve anger?
How do you?
I'll get away
from sometimes just having a conversation. If there's no resolution in the conversation, then what?
Eventually, there's going to be resolution in the conversation. I think it's just everybody has to deal with it on their own, and then you can come back and resurface and talk about it again. But at the time, if two people are angry at the time, you're getting nowhere. and then you can't stay stuck there. I don't know. I'm just one of them type of people that just brush it off. All right, I was mad, and I'm keeping it moving. But I can't stay stuck in an angry place.
Now, and let me ask you this. So what do you do when the other person isn't willing? When the other person is like, bump you, you know, and you try to make it right, but they just won't allow you. And it's not like you can't, like this person is in your life. You know what I'm saying? And you can't just turn them off. But if they're not willing to meet you, to have this conversation, to even consider your point of view, how do you deal with that? In the meantime, I know you said eventually it's going to be resolved, but what about in that meantime while it's not resolved? How do you can't live in that?
I look at it like this. You can't force them to be that way. You know, you can't force them to make them, you know, to make them talk to you. So it's like, okay, if they don't want to deal with it right now, I'll be patient and wait until they're ready to deal with it. If not, then, hey, they have to deal with that because I'm no longer going to carry it. That's just my method.
Gotcha.
But do you stay in the situation?
Yeah, because I'm no longer mad. They're still mad. So they got to get to the point where they're not mad no more. I can't force you to not be mad, or, you know, I can't force a person not to be mad. You're going to be mad. You're going to be upset. I can't control another person's emotions. Everybody's responsible for their own. But then do you really want somebody to have that much control? Like, they going to control everything. You're mad for the whole day. Or, you know what I mean, you're going to do something you don't want to do because this person that made you mad. No, that's too much control. That's how I deal with it. That's how I deal with it. But I like the fact that you said don't stay stuck there. I think that was really good advice.
Yeah, and here's the thing too, Nikki. I don't want to stay there. I don't want to be mad at this person, but the how not to is my issue.
Yeah,
that's my issue. Like I said, this is foreign to me. I've never felt like this about anybody in my whole life. I'm 41 years old. I've never felt this way about anybody. So this is foreign to me. So how not to be angry with this person is my issue at the moment.
There you go, and that's the hard part, because even not wanting them to control you. I love how people use the control analogy, and I think it has some relevancy. But at the same time, when you've gotten to that point of anger, and the person who has made you angry, unable to do what they need to do to remove that anger, I think that's a dynamic that has to be explored also. You can't just sit back and say, well, I'm not going to let this person, you know, control my anger and just walk away from it and just say because I'm not going to let you control me that the anger is going to go away.
Right.
It never quite happens like that. What you end up doing is you end up sweeping it under the rug or burying it, and at some point in time, that situation that led you to be angry is going to come up, and what you buried underneath the rug is going to be a bigger pile, and it's going to be a bigger explosion next time. So I think when people are angry at each other, or it's a situation where there's two people angry, the person who has made you angry has some sense of responsibility in you not being angry anymore. But if they're unable to communicate about that situation because you're in different households or whatever the case may be, they still have a responsibility there to make sure that I'm not angry. Because they're the source. Particularly if I said, Nathan, you're the reason why I'm angry, and you say, well, you shouldn't let my anger control you.
No, well, in that case, in that aspect, you're going to try to talk to the person and you know, say, you know, what did I do to make you angry? You know, at some point you're going to try to, you know, talk about it. But at the same time, if they're not willing, like you said, if they're not willing, then you can't do nothing but relax until they're willing to talk about it, or until they're willing to rectify the situation.
But is that really reality?
My thing is, you can't force nobody. You can't force nobody to you know, come into agreement with you, because it's not always going to be an agreeable situation.
Absolutely.
That's the thing. Absolutely. Sometimes you won't have that person that made you angry. In their mind, they won't be capable of understanding that they made you angry, and there's no time length that they will give, that you can give them for them to communicate with you in order to take that anger away. So you're dealing with it the entire time. Not that you're giving them power over you. You just don't understand how another human is in not capable of trying to come to you and squash the situation entirely. I think that's how the difference in like how men resolve our issues with anger, and just I guess women in a sense. We want that resolution like immediately because you've now blown me up. I'm to that T where now something's going to happen, and you're just walking away as if, oh well, I placed that there, but blah 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 whatever. So that person, whomever that is, the person that caused the anger, as Elgin said, is a responsible party for resolving that issue. And the more you don't try to resolve the issue, the angrier we become.
I agree. All right. Well, you guys have a good day. I'm going, do what I do. I'll talk to y'all later.
Nikki, we appreciate you. We appreciate you
Definitely.
calling in. I mean, it's helpful. Yes. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Y'all have a good day, okay?
All right.
We got another one, brother.
Yeah.
Go ahead, man.
972. You are on the air with us. 972. You're live on the air, Real Talk Radio. What's your name and what's your comment?
This is Andrea. Good morning, gentlemen.
All right.
Yeah. So for me, okay, me being angry about some things has nothing to do with a person in particular, as it does
situation,
a societal norm, I guess, or just. So for me, my big issue is I get angry with this notion that men are men rule the world and all this other kind of stuff, and it makes it hard for us as women to we don't make the same kind of money even though we do the same job, or so it's this system that's out there that puts you all in this position of where we seem less than a man. That is what makes me angry, and I probably stay angry more so than I should. Nothing I can do about it to change it, right? Doesn't matter, but that's there daily. You deal with that every day. You get up, there's something out there that some comment that gets made or some whatever that just it could set me off at any given point in time, and it's not anybody specifically. It's just the system. What do you do with that, right? Seriously.
You deal with it.
What do you do with that? I had a situation at work just recently where one of my coworkers, even though, like I said, it probably wasn't him, it's just the way he said it. We expanded our office suite, and we were doing all this stuff, and all I'm hearing, I work with majority men. And I hear these complaints just whining because they don't like the way things came out and, whining about everything under the sun. And then this one guy made the comment because, we have this group of people down on the other end of the building that they deem are making too much noise or whatever. And then, I was trying to explain to him why we did what we did. Then he says, well, you're not on sales calls like I am, Andrea. That really pissed me the hell off. I mean, what do you do with that, right? And I had to explain to him, look, I don't care what you're doing. Your job is no more important than anybody else's, right? It doesn't go that way. But it came across to me like, oh, so you think my job is not as important as yours. That may not have been what his intent was, but that's how it came across to me. And I didn't like that. And this is a bunch of men. I work with 10 women, and the rest of them are 60 men. And you get this condescending, overtone that comes with working with men, and it gets on my nerves every day. Every day. It gets on my nerves. Every day. What do you do?
Listen, sis, I know exactly what you mean. I don't have that same issue as you do, of course, but I understand what you mean when you are dealing with societal norms that actually anger you every day. I don't know what to do in those situations. I'm being a 100 because I'm in similar situations. But I don't know how to deal with those things. It's a struggle, and some days my anger level is higher than others. Some days it's simmering, and some days it flares up and erupts like a volcano. I don't know what to do in those situations.
Yeah, because and I don't either. I try my best to, keep, I went off that day because I went to his boss, and I just just had my day and told them this is a bunch of BS, and and I'm tired of these whiny ass men crying about every doggone thing under the sun. We need to change our company name to whatever child development center, because apparently these men haven't grown up yet. I just went off right to another man because I was just, but I try my best to try to figure out how to do it. I still go to work, try to keep a smile on my face, but sometimes it's just not fun. I mean, when I first came out of the system, I went on this 2 year, I think it was 2 years solid. Even though I was married, had 2 sons and all stuff, I think I went through this 2 year solid hating men stage. There was nothing a man could do to make me think that they were, that there were good men out there. I don't care who they were. And then some man would do a nice gesture. I'm like, oh, that's nice. Okay, well, maybe I'm wrong. And then something else would come up, and another, then another man would come, and so, I mean, somehow that helps me out along the way. But I'm just saying, every day I still battle that. And I don't know. For me, I don't know what I'm going to, how I'm going to do whatever I'm going to do. Every day I have to face its challenges as they come, and hopefully that it's not so bad where, I can't cope with it throughout the day, because it gets very taxing as a woman. It really does.
I think you said something that just struck home with me. You just said it. It's you're dealing with it every day. You take it day by day, step by step, and not try to solve it all in one big rush. They're dealing with it day by day and taking it as it comes. I think you just helped me with that statement, and not trying to overcome it all at one time, just one day at a time. One day at a time. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Women just need to obey. That's what they need to do.
Oh, that's my husband. Don't pay him no mind.
I'm glad he said it, because he wasn't going to kill me. Hey.
Oh, you were going to say that too?
Oh, no.
Go ahead.
Hey, brother, that's something you think, not say, right?
It's something you think. I'm scared to even think it, bro.
Yeah, I know. That's for them brothers that's unsaved and that have an issue with themselves. But just want to, fellas, I appreciate you guys. You guys are really, keeping it 100, as my man would say, and I enjoy listening to you guys. So I'll go ahead and let you guys comment on my wife's comments, and I'll continue listening.
All right.
I think in this world of known knowns, that, of course, this being one of the cases where men supposedly, it's not by rationale or not by deed or law, but that men have this subservient mentality when it comes to women, that's going to be a known. That's just the way of the world. And to pit yourself against a world tradition will only infuriate you to the core, and it'll constantly go on. It's just the same as us being African American and this second killing out there in close to St. Louis. And what are we supposed to do? So that same anger that you have as a woman against this totality of men, it's kind of the same combating rage we have against the system itself when it comes to African Americans. Is there anything we can do? We try to conform and get together and say don't do this and don't do that, but it still comes our way. Just as the same, it doesn't matter what you do as a woman. There are going to be men out there who will be a-holes about anything. And the more you try to combat that system, the more it goes and closes itself around you, where it's cutting off your air and your way of life pretty much. And that's not what you want. I'm not telling you to blend in and say that men are better or anything of that nature. No, we're not. But at the same time, what can, as you were stating before, one person do against a whole system? It's very hard to envision what that may look like. And the best you can do is to help your husband and your 2 sons become better men unto themselves so that they can be the change you wish to see. Because changing every man out here probably is not going to happen.
Yeah, am I still on?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, no. So it's not so much that I'm out there trying to change everybody. It's like I said, it's in my circle, right? It's what I deal with. I've been out in the workforce for over 20 years, 30 years, and so so I'm not trying to change the whole system. I raised my sons to be responsible young men. Taught them how to cook and do all kinds of stuff because I said if you need to know how to do all these things, and I understand all of that, but it still doesn't stop the frustrations when I go to work and have to deal with stuff like that. It doesn't stop that. I mean, from environment to environment, the same thing. It's the same thing over and over and over again. It doesn't change. Even as me as one person, now I try to encourage where I work that you need to hire more females. You need to hire more black people. Whatever the case, I do those things, but it still doesn't eliminate the frustrations when you see that for some reason or another in certain fields, especially when it comes to engineering and stuff like that, you don't find where a lot of these things where they think women are as competent as men are to do certain things, and then they say we're too emotional, and you guys are just as emotional, but you call it your ego as opposed to saying we're just emotional, and then we get called certain names that are not conducive to what it is that we're trying to do. If we are exerting some type of authority or whatever, we're considered bitches and the whole 9 yards, to where you guys are considered something else. So it's this whole quandary, and then I'm a black female to boot, so then I come across as an angry black female and all this other kind of stuff to where it's just not, the whole thing is just not the same. So I'm constantly having to keep myself in check at work because what I want to do, I don't do, but what I would like to do is, cut somebody out on a regular but I don't do that. And so there's this constant having to keep myself in check because number one, is not representative of who Christ is, but I still have those moments. And I mean, and sometimes it's a daily moment, sometimes it's not. But I'm just saying, I'm not out there trying to change the whole system because I know that's impossible for one person to do. That feat in itself, I'm just talking about my working environment. And then sometimes when I come home, I bring that home, and then next thing you know, my husband is one of those men who fall into, and he may not have done anything. It just happens to be that thing that happened to me that day. And because he's a man, he gets thrown into the fray because I'm frustrated with the way things happen. And I'm having to apologize to him because it didn't, it's not your fault. It's just that's what happened to me today, right? So, like I said, I'm not trying to change the system. One person can't do it all, and I know women are out there on the forefront trying to get things changed and trying to get equal pay for equal work and all that kind of stuff. Understood. But I'm just saying, in my environment on a daily basis, I work with the majority men, and I have never seen men act like a bunch of babies than I have seen, but yet these are supposed to be the leaders of the world, and these are supposed to be, these smart, intelligent men acting like a bunch of 2-year-olds over stupid stuff, and it just aggravates me that they get what they want because they scream and holler like that, but let a woman do that, then we're considered emotional and, unstable, and she must be on her period or she's going through, menopause, but you guys can do all that stupid stuff like that. That's just his ego, don't challenge his manhood, whatever the hell that is. I still haven't figured out what that is, and it's just crazy, right? Anyway, that's my frustrations, and that's what I deal with, I'm just trying to, keep it honest because that's what I deal with. And I try my best to figure out how I'm going to handle each day as it comes because sometimes it's overwhelming because men are just stupid sometimes,
See,
anyway.
There you go, paint with them broad strokes.
But I'm just talking about the men I work with and stuff like that. I'm not talking about all y'all. I'm just talking about the ones I work with. So anyway, that's my 2 cents for what it's worth today. Like I said, my anger is not it's not necessarily at anybody as it is the system.
We got you.
So. That's
we know you love us, sis. We know you love us.
I do. I mean, I do. And I love what you guys do. I love it. But like I said, that's my feelings for today. I do go through that. I would say just almost like on a daily basis. And I'm not trying to change everything. I'm just trying to change what I can, and hopefully we'll get it done. But anyway, God bless y'all. Y'all doing a great job. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, sis.
Thank you, Andrew.
Listen, I don't know who in the world them men are, but them dudes is crazy. Ain't no way in the world I'm going to be working with her. And I'm going to... No. I feel like she cut you.
Yeah. I ain't messing with Sister Andrea, man. For real. I don't know who the cats are, but yeah, they got...
Y'all better get somewhere and sat down. You better leave her alone, brother. Listen.
Exactly.
But we live in a patriarchal society, unfortunately, man, and I hate to see some of these issues that the women are having to deal with, man. It's really difficult. Unfortunately, it really is. Listen, if you are listening to this show, man, please call in and share your stories, your views, your thoughts, your feelings in regards to today's topic, man. You can call us at 661-449-9951. That's 661-449-9951. Press 1 to speak to the host. We would love to hear from you.
Fofo.
Kicking
Elder, before we came on air, you were sharing one of your stories where you were angry. I don't know if you mind sharing that on the air or not. I think you have shared it on the air before. You know, if you can share. When I talked about the dangers of being so angry and you go into a fit of rage, if you don't mind, if you could share that story again.
Oh, man, that's fine. Most of you guys, you know me. You know the relationship that I have with my daughter, how much she means to me, and, you know, all those type of things. I was in the military when I met her mom, and our relationship didn't last, but we attempted to do the co-parenting thing, and, you know, I had moved back to Philly, and she was where she was, and I came to visit my daughter, surprising her. You know what I mean? That's what I would do every now and then, take some time off from work, hop in the vehicle and drive up to surprise her at school or whatever, just to keep our relationship fresh. Well, this particular weekend I had went up there and surprised her and all that, but I was with another female for the weekend, also enjoying myself, when my phone rings, and it's my daughter's mother on the phone, and she's upset, she's going crazy, she's just ramming on the phone. And, you know, my response to her always was just, I'm not talking to you when you're like this. Click. And I was just about to do that when she says, I'm packing up and moving and taking my daughter so you'll never see her again. I hopped in my Bronco. I had an old OJ joint, man, blue and white. Love that truck. But I also, if you know anything about those trucks, is a center console. And that's where I kept my 9 at. So I hopped in the vehicle, man, drove to my daughter's mother's house, you know, in flat-out rage. Reached in the glove compartment, kicked in her door. She was sitting at the dining room table right as you enter, her and one of her girlfriends. I tossed the table to the side with one hand and put my gun to her head, and I said, say it again. And at that moment, I had every intent that if she would have said it again, I would have shot and killed her there. But the only thing that saved her life was the fact that when I came in, my daughter heard the noise and heard my voice, and she's like, oh, is that my daddy? And when I heard her voice, it made me immediately drop my gun down to my side and walk out quickly and tell her, you know, I'll see you in a few minutes, baby girl, and left. But it was such a state of rage that when I got done doing that, I hopped back in the vehicle and drove and went and got some breakfast, man. And I felt absolutely justified in what I'd done. I mean, I felt like I felt like I was dad of the doggone year. You hear what I'm saying? I felt justified. And it took me a very long time to get to the point where I realized how wrong I was. And there were stages of my justification, man, truthfully, that when I called my sister, and I told my sister Kia about it, who's called this show numerous times. I called her, and her response was, come home. Come home. Just hop in the truck, come home. She's like, you cannot afford to go to jail for numerous reasons. Come home. And I'm trying to justify it on the phone with her. I'm like, yo, did you hear what she said? Did you hear what she did? Like, I wanted people to be able to see and to feel my offense, and in them feeling my offense, it would help validate my actions. Right. And I was wrong as the day is long, man. I make no bones about it. And when I say but, it was because of her having intimate knowledge of the thing that was going to, the button that she knew that she can press at any given moment. So what I had to do after that, as I grew and matured, is to remove that button. So now she can never say anything like that now and have that same effect. And listen, I want to be clear. I was a believer. So I'm not even going to throw that disclaimer out that people so willingly throw out. Oh, I wasn't saved back then. Man, I loved me some Jesus back then. You hear what I'm saying? So it wasn't the fact that I wasn't a believer. It was none of that. It was the fact that something happened that pressed a particular button that led me from anger to immediate rage. Now, Rob, it was a good 5 to 6 Philly blocks to get to her crib. Okay? So there was some premeditation that took place. I knew exactly what I was going to do when I got there, man.
There are plenty of stops along the way. If you driving Philly, you know how you got to start and stop. Yeah, plenty of time. Yep. Wow.
You said it was a process. How long did it take you to realize that you were wrong, if you can remember?
It took me some time. It took me some time to realize that I was wrong. I would say it took me a good year or two to realize I was wrong. It took me several years after. A couple of days ago, me and my daughter was talking via Skype, and I'm trying to school her on some adult-type situations, how to budget her money, how to deal with conflict. And I often use me as an example as a way of showing her, clear examples of how you can make mistakes and still come to a position in life where things are leveled. And I use that example. I use it. My daughter knew me very well when I was that. She knew I carried a gun. She knew, I had those type of feelings towards her, how much I loved her. So I shared that with her. I shared that story, and she remembered. And she was like, I remember that, Dad. She was like, but I remember you coming back and picking me up later in that day. We went to the park, and everything was fine. She was like, I just remember that you were really, really angry, and I was scared. She was like, but I wasn't scared for my mom. She was like, I was scared for you.
How did that make you feel?
It shook me to the core. It rocked me. You know what I mean? It really, because there's been instances, I think with any parent, we've done things in our children's lives that oftentimes where we've made mistakes and we've had some errors that we regret or wish we could do again. That would be one of those things for me. But I think, again, because of who Christ is and who my relationship with Christ is, all those things have worked out for the good, because it was a lesson for her, for me to be able to share with her how to manage angry situations or situations where people are going to lead you down a path. Now, today, I'm not going to make it seem like I'm so, great and holy when it comes to dealing with anger, because I still have times where people push particular buttons that lead me there, but now I'm wiser that I'll remove myself quickly, or I won't put myself in situations where I know that I can find myself doing something that can cost me, cost me my future. So I won't do it.
So how long did it take you to apologize to her mother?
I never apologized to her mother.
Never.
Just keeping it 100 with her. And I didn't apologize to her. I think in the beginning, Nathan, truthfully, I didn't apologize to her because I felt like I was justified in my actions. You know what I mean? So it was just like, you did it. What I'm apologizing to you for? You're the one who pushed the button. You knew me. You knew how I love my daughter. So I use those type of justifications. Right now, it's probably the first time in all those years that I ever thought about apologizing to her. And I'm healed. I'm good with the situation. So now I think that what I'll have to do is process and pray and see if it's actually a situation that the Lord would have me go and apologize to her for. And if that's what he has me do, I'll do it.
All right. Lord have mercy.
Man, listen. When my sister calls this show sometimes, she talks about me in such a wonderful light, and I appreciate that. But one of the things that she's been able to see over, my 40 years is the progression of how Christ has led me and how he's groomed me from the place where I was incredibly angry because of my childhood and what happened in my childhood to getting to a place where I cussed and, completely rejected Christ before I knew him intimately. You know, she saw all those things. She saw me standing in the pulpit preaching and proclaiming Christ. She seen me walk out of that to the point where I am now. So when somebody is able to see your journey and they're still walking with you and see you and hold you in such a light as she does, man, that's a powerful thing. And that's one of the things that we have together here with these brothers. Lenoa's known me for some years. Nathan's known me for some years. Rob has known me for some time. We've known each other, and we've seen each other grow out these situations, because this is not the first time we've seen Nathan angry. You know what I mean? He's been angry before. It's never been to the level of this particular situation, possibly, but we've dealt with each other on this situation.
Yeah.
We've counseled and talked each other, you know, to make sure we didn't go to prison. Because there's been times where we felt like we had to hurt somebody because of what they've done to us.
You ain't lying. Yeah, we talked each other off some ledges too, man.
Yes, indeed. Y'all have talked my blood pressure down plenty of times.
That wouldn't have took place with me. I don't think that would have took place with any of us if we were in the church setting. And that's not some jab or slight against the church. When I was in the church, I had great relationships. I didn't have great friendships. I didn't have true brotherhood with the members in the church. I would pray with them, minister with them, serve with them, all those things. But I didn't ever live out the life of Christ with anybody I went to church with. So that these things that we're discussing that we have done for each other would never have taken place in the church for me.
Yeah, me either. So Rob, what's your story, man? What's up, man? What's pushed you over the edge?
Well, I mean, I guess a few things, man. But something that I kind of share with you guys, because it was kind of similar to what you were going through, in a way, was that there was a time where I remember when my phone would go off and it would be a certain person, and I was at a point where I was feeling all types of emotion, like all at the same time, all types of anger, all types of rage, adrenaline flowing, anticipating the drama, you know what I mean? And then, like you said, if it didn't turn out to be like my phone, it was like if my phone just rang, like, oh, here we go. And then if I saw it was the person, it multiplied exponentially. If it wasn't that person, okay, all right, cool. So, and I'm speaking, of course, of my ex-wife. I shared this story with you guys. She's probably listening right now too. So,
what's up, Rob's ex?
Easy. So, we're at a good place now, and we're cool. You know what I'm saying? But it took on, I guess, on both of our parts to be like, because we were going. I'm making a long story short. We went through a divorce, and it was really rocky at first. You know what I mean? And in the beginning, there was a lot of the drama. Like, it was just, we could talk to each other, and then the wind would shift a different way, and we're full blown arguing. Cussing each other out and the whole bit. And we both, like you said, we were both believers at the time. You know what I mean? But it took us to just step back from the situation and kind of like put our heads together, like, listen, look, we're over. You know what I mean? That part of that chapter of our lives has closed, and we both need to be cool with that. And here's a chapter, and I'm talking about our son. Here's a chapter that's ongoing. This book is still open. You see what I'm saying? So we have to bury this part of our book, you know what I mean, and move forward so that we can be the best parents that we could be. You see what I'm saying? So, when you're talking about, because when we talk about, being pushed over the edge and trying to step back from a situation and kind of, assessing, stuff that you say. I have to kind of, I used to be that person, man, and still sometimes, like you guys, know personally, y'all talk y'all off a couple of ledges too. You know what I mean? But, you have to kind of assess and put yourself in check and not let, unnecessary stuff come out of your mouth. You understand what I'm saying? Out of anger. Because a lot of times the anger is exacerbated by stuff that you say. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes some of the stuff that you say is compounding your own anger. You know what I mean? It's hard to articulate, but I think a lot of you know what I'm talking about. And it's a common theme that we've been saying in this whole show. You actually really have to put yourself in check. So, I mean, it used to go on a lot between the two of us. And we kind of, looking at our boy, and he's sitting here with me right now, looking at him and knowing that we have to put this part behind us to raise this kid, it was the best for us all. You know what I mean? And we've gotten along for a number of years as a result of that. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, that's the bottom line. But when I tell you, man, it used to be ugly and like you said, pushed me over the edge. I mean, it was easy to set me off. It was hard for me to put my own emotions in check, and just the least little thing used to just set me off. You see what I'm saying? I'm saying stuff. I'm cussing people out. I'm flying off the handle. You know what I mean? But I had to dial it back, man. And, because I can't instill in my son to control his emotions, and I can't control mine. You know what I'm saying? So that's my story in a nutshell, man. That's, and I'm sharing with y'all because, I'm sharing over the air because it's something that, I share with y'all. And even, since we've known each other, you guys really have talked my blood pressure down in a number of different situations, you know what I'm saying? So y'all know. That's why Nathan's laughing. Y'all know, man. Y'all know. So
yeah,
it's really been a growing process. Go ahead.
Oh, let me say this, man. I wanted to share this other aspect too, man, because I think it's important in the frame of this particular show. If you're somebody who suffers from continuous anger over particular situations that you may not even be in anymore, it's okay as a believer to go and seek some help for that. Because not resolving that anger can lead to other issues. It can lead to abuse in situations. It can lead to addiction. It can lead to so many different issues. And let me give you this example. For years, growing up in a home where you have two drug-addicted parents, I always had this image that men were supposed to be the protectors of the family, the providers of the family. And watching and recalling how my family deteriorated and fell apart in the situations and circumstances that we lived in, I held my dad responsible. I felt like it was his fault. He was the one that got my mom strung out. He was the one that had us living in the worst forms of poverty that you can imagine. I felt like he was the responsible one. So as I got older, I became more and more angry with him, to the point, man, where I would dream at nighttime about bumping into my dad on the street and beating him senseless. It got to that point where I was having all types of violent dreams and nightmares. One time I woke up in the middle of the night, man, with this girl next to me, honest to God, and woke up to her screaming, and she was screaming because I'm yelling out my dad's name, but my hands are trying to get to her throat. That was the type of situation that I was dealing with. Now, it got to be to a point where I had to go seek some help for that. I ended up having to go seek counseling, man. I was in counseling for probably about 3 years. And the funny thing about it, or the ironic part about the counselor who helped me out tremendously, was a white, gay atheist. Okay? A white, gay atheist. But mess with the tools that he gave me, man. He gave me tools and taught me strategies and walked me through processing and dealing with my childhood and equipped me in such a manner that I don't have that struggle anymore. I tend to lash out time to time, but I'm probably one of the more mild-mannered cats that will meet. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I don't
right.
find myself. See, I knew you was going to do that. That's payback. You know what I mean? I don't find myself in violent situations like that anymore. But my point of that story and sharing that is, man, it's okay as a Christian, as somebody who was blood-bought, redeemed, sanctified, being justified, all those things, to go seek counseling for your issues. It's okay. It's okay to go lay on somebody's couch and tell them, I need some help. Because mental health issues within the Christian community are on an all-time rise. And it's imperative that we begin to lead other believers who are struggling with these, because anger can lead to other mental issues. It's very important, because I find, man, some of the most heaviest drinking that I ever did, Nathan, was when I was angry. I would run to the bottle because I was able to seek counsel, and I always thought that drinking would somehow numb that anger. But what I was dealing with wasn't so much the anger. It was the unforgiveness that let bitterness root itself in my heart. So I think that's imperative that we say, hey, man, listen, brother, sister, if you listen to this show and you're dealing with some issues, man, some problems mentally, man, go seek some help, man. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Jesus ain't going to be mad at you. He ain't going to reject you. He's not going to withhold blessings. He's not going to somehow curse you, because if he's equipped that particular doctor with the knowledge to help others, you would actually be forsaking him if you don't trust that doctor and you trust your own self.
What do you guys think about this, man? So you're talking about going to get help, and that's a very important thing, right? We're talking about professional help. We're not talking about somebody with a religious title in front of their name.
Yeah.
Because if you rely on Pastor such and such or Bishop so and so, to an extent, if they know you and they know your situation, to an extent they'll be able to help you. To an extent, but don't rely on their religious title. Seek professional help, because see, a lot of people go to religious leaders for counseling, but these people aren't equipped. You understand what I'm saying? They're not equipped to counsel people professionally, but people are seeking professional counsel from religious leaders. It doesn't work, people. I mean, you could end up doing more damage. You understand what I'm saying? Than good. So seek professional help if you have these, really deep pressing issues. There's nothing wrong with it. I mean, just like Brother Elgin says, nothing wrong with it. If you need to talk to somebody, go talk to somebody.
I want to get Lenore in on this because, Elgin had brought up about forgiveness. Now, on the show we had where Lenore shared a story about his childhood and how he, was molested at a young age, and how he was taken from his mother. They took his sister away, how the foster people abused him and misused him. Lenore, let me ask you, bro, and I'm going to put you on the spot. Are you still angry with these people? Have you forgiven them? Or are you over it? How are you dealing with that today? Like in real time, how are you dealing with those things that happened to you in your childhood?
Yeah, that is on the spot. Nathan, no, I was joking. All right.
Well, you don't have to answer. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to answer.
I know. I definitely will. But I think since I was so young, was what it was. Because if any was to happen to me today, of course, I'd seek revenge instantly. But I didn't have any anger issues as a kid. Though all of that stuff was happening to me in real time as a kid, I didn't let it. Like, I would forget about it. I kind of went inside, and what I mean by that is I shut the world completely off, and I just became my own friend. I became my own source of entertainment, or just using my imagination to escape the world. I really did, because I didn't have my sister, I didn't have my mom, and anything that hurt me on the outside, I shut it off, like physical pain, emotional pain, stress, trauma, depression that I got from just being around people who didn't know me, didn't want me, and who did all of that stuff to me. I shut it off. Like I was physically there, but I wasn't mentally there, and so not dealing with it on the mental edge is what allowed it to just weed itself completely out of my system. I'm able to tell my story, and I remember it vividly, the stuff that was happening to me as a kid. But as a kid, I was not looking to remember these people's faces. I wasn't looking to remember them as in their names and, to try to, I guess when I got older, come back and see them again like, oh, whatever you did to me, here I am now. Like, I didn't want any of that on my mind as a child, and it could have been how to allow it, but that's what I did. I just went aside completely. Have I forgiven them? I don't even know them to forgive them, really, to tell you the truth, honestly. Wow. If you put them in the lineup, I wouldn't remember them at all. So I just pretty much just let it go. As Nikki was saying earlier, like, I didn't allow it to manifest itself inside of me, and I guess me going inside internally was the trigger that allowed that to happen, where I didn't remember them. I don't remember them now. I remember the names. I remember the times. I remember the places. I just can't remember faces anymore. And so since I have nothing to place on anybody, I guess they are just forgiven on the token that I just can't remember them.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. Wow. And forgiveness is a big part of it. It's a big part. Because for me, I'll forgive you in a second. You piss me off and steal from me, whatever. I can forgive that. But real talk, I'm struggling with forgiving this person for what they did to me. Not even that what they did to me, just, and like I said, I can't name anything specific. It's just years of built up, as Andrea was saying. You heard the frustration in her voice, dealing with it every day. I've been dealing with this for well over 10 years, and it's just the frustration aspect of it. And I think that's why, because like Elder said, what we do, we sweep it under the rug. And then that pile just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And I've swept it under the rug so much that it's hard for me now to go through that. And then if that other person isn't even willing to even see how they've hurt me, they can't fathom. They just thought they was doing what's right in their eyes. And yeah. I was hurt. Oh, I hurt you. Oh, poor little baby. I hurt your feelings. You know what I'm saying? So dealing with that, knowing that I still have to continually deal with this person. I can't just walk away. I can't. As much as I would love to, as much as I would want to. And I think that is what led me to the feelings of I didn't care if she lived or died at that moment. Mm-hmm. And I think that led to it. But, just even talking to the show, on the show has been therapeutic for me. Just to get it out, get it off my chest, to be able to talk about it, knowing that I can't talk about it with this other person. I can't. They're unwilling to even see my point of view, my perspective. And I usually pride myself on trying to look at things from other people's perspective, from other people's points of view. Not to just say I'm right. No, I want to see, why do you feel the way you feel? I'm trying to understand that. And that has worked in my marriage. I mean, my wife was close to getting a divorce a couple of times. But recently, I say within these last 2 years, where I've learned to communicate better with my wife, to try to understand things from her perspective, from her point of view, and we will sit down and have a long talk. Okay, why do you feel like when I said that, why did that hurt you? Was it the way talks like that, things like that has helped me in my marriage. And I can say I'm probably at one of the happiest times of my marriage that I've been since I first got married.
She must be sitting right there, huh?
No, she's probably at church somewhere. My wife's at church. and she don't listen to the show. She ain't going to listen to the show. But it's just real talk. You know what I'm saying? But with this other person, I can't even talk to them like that. I can't. Not for me not wanting to, but that person isn't willing. to sit down and have this type of conversation, because to them, I'm the devil.
Yeah.
You know, so and I'm working through it, and like something else Andrew said that really helped me is it's a day by day thing. You know, so I don't think I hate her anymore. Notice I said I don't think I do. The forgiving part, where this happened years ago, where I was talking to my coworker, and this person that called me on the phone, and I saw the phone number, you know, caller ID at work, and I immediately got angry. And after the conversation, my coworker was like, and said, "I thought you said you forgave her," and I was like, "I did forgive her." And my coworker was like, "Well, if you forgave her, you wouldn't get mad just because you see her phone number." And I had to think like, "Oh wow, maybe I forgave her in my head, but not in my heart." And maybe that's still part of why I'm in the situation that I'm in now, because I still haven't, after all these years, forgiven her. And so I'm a work in progress, and it's a process. So and I take that lump. I take it.
But I think that's one of the things that Christians have been conditioned to think, man, is that forgiveness is a Christ-like forgiveness. And what I mean by that is that it's instantaneous.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because that's one of the things that they'll often throw at us, and I do hold it true. You know, we forgive because we're forgiven. I understand that. But the thing is, what Jesus did was an instantaneous act of reconciliation. When you're dealing with other humans, your reconciliation more than likely is not going to be instantaneous. It's going to be a process where you may see very little progress. But in certain relationships, you have a decision to make. Do I stay in this situation where very little to no progress is making, or do I leave because I'm afraid that the bitterness is going to take over my heart, which is going to ultimately impede the progress? But that mindset, it has to be very, very, examined, that we just stop throwing out that, well, you just have to forgive, as if it's just as simple as me turning the light on and off. That's
right.
Not reality. Forgiveness is a battle, man. It's a struggle to forgive someone who has hurt you. And when you tell me just simply get over it, or you have to forgive, now I feel like you're not understanding my pain. You're not able to validate it because you're coming from a place, obviously, where you don't understand, A, the Christian doctrine, and B, what I've been through. So I think that's imperative for people to understand, man, it depends on the type of relationship that you're in. If you have made a covenant type, if you're in a covenant type relationship with someone, hey, you got to stick around, bro, and deal with that process when there's little to no progress. Now, if you're not in a covenant type relationship, you got some decisions to make, whether you want to stay around or not. Because that anger should not put you in a place where you begin to I think that's one of the things that I found for myself, is that I began to find ways to justify my anger. I would be able to look at certain memories and say, well, he did this. That's why I feel it. Wouldn't you feel that way? Yeah, I began to do it that way, and was able to begin to warp my thinking and allow me to justify my behavior. And I think ultimately that can be very, very dangerous.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Oh man, this is, it's tough, man. It's tough. So, you guys got anything else, man?
I'm good, bro.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we can go ahead and in the show, unless we got any callers. Anybody else want to call in and share a story, or got any advice for a brother? 661-449-9951. The phone lines are still open. there are lines available for you, so you can still call in because we are still on the air. But if no one calls, we can go ahead and kill it, man.
Yeah. I think shows like this where we just do decide to end early, it's not because of a lack of material. I think it's because there's been so many seeds left on the soil of people's thought processes that it's some time now for you to spend some time with the Holy Spirit and allow Him to lead you and guide you. Because there's no specific formula on how to be able to combat these things. First, you have to understand who you are. And I think many Christians' chief battle in dealing with anger is because they have a skewed view of who Jesus is.
Mm-hmm. What do you mean by that? Explain that.
Well, for one, they often feel, and we talk about the works-based type of relationship that many Christians unfortunately have with Christ. They feel as though if I don't forgive this person, Jesus is going to come through and snatch His forgiveness from me. And I think that's a very, very, very dangerous thought process to have, particularly when you begin to throw those cliches out. You have to forgive because Jesus forgive you. Well, you don't want Him to take His forgiveness from you, do you? I think you're not putting the person's pain and their issues in the proper perspective. And I think because the way the church has set up their teaching, that is very much a, give and get type of relationship. You get from Jesus what you put in. You didn't put anything in. You're not getting anything else. You didn't read your word. Well, I guess Jesus is not going to bless you. That type of mindset can translate into situations where you're in need of A, either being forgiven, or C, desiring somebody else's forgiveness. I think it's very dangerous when you have that skewed view of who Jesus is. Jesus don't operate like that. That's not how He gets down. That's not His motive or, how He views you, the Christian. He loves you. He wants you to forgive, and He wants people to forgive you. But He's not somewhere looking to rip His love and grace and mercy away from you because you haven't forgiven Him. Be careful of that thinking.
Mm-hmm. Good advice, man. Good advice. Yep. How often should I forgive my brother if he sins against me?
70 times 70.
70 times 70. Sounds good.
It seems like that's the thing, though. They have to come to you and ask for that forgiveness, and that's what people aren't doing now.
Yep. You got to be willing, both parties, and we hear it all the time. Just let it go. Just let it go. Yeah, it sounds good. It sounds real good. And if it was that easy, I'd bottle it up and sell it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But it ain't. So don't look like we have any other callers, brothers. In any last thoughts? Lenore, last thoughts?
I'm good, brothers. I think we drove this one home. It's not the cliches. It's not the let me throw some scriptures out there talk. It's not the the structure on how people build themselves to just let it go. It's not. Everyone deals with anger in their own form and fashion, but getting over it, as long as someone's walking with someone else to do that, not necessarily the person that made you angry, but as long as someone's in your life to try to get it out of you, that's a better prerogative than just telling someone to let it go, as you were just stating.
All right. Robert? His brother eating grits.
And neck bones, first thing in the morning.
Your last thoughts?
I gave them, brother.
Okay.
I want people to just to be free in every way, free from anger, free from hatred and unforgiveness. But it's a process.
My final thoughts would be, this is a real time conversation for me. As I said, I'm going through this situation right now. Like I said, I'm not as angry as I was. Like as time, will make it better for me in the end. Because like I said, my personality and the person I am, I usually don't hold on to things. I don't hold on to anger or grudges. I don't, I let it go. I can let it go. And so, like I said, this is new territory for me. This is a foreign feeling, a foreign emotion for me. So I just ask that you guys will keep me in your prayers as I'm going through this situation. And I thank you in advance for praying with me and for me. Amen?
Amen.
Amen. Father, is Rob back?
No, brother. This brother is, hold on, let's put him on blast all the way. This brother is sitting here smacking on some shrimp and grits.
And sausage in there.
And sausage. I hope that's kielbasa.
And that was cheese.
With cheese, yep.
Got some cheese, some sprinkled Italian seasoning on top. I don't see no red Kool-Aid, though. He's slipping. I guess funds is low, so, I mean, it be like that sometimes.
Shrimp and grits.
Have a good meal and drinking water. I understand.
So, that being said, I guess I'll go ahead and pray. Father, we thank you for this show. We pray that something was said that will help somebody, Father, because it has helped me. It has been therapeutic for me to be able to talk about some of these things and to hear how other brothers have gone through and gotten over their rage and their anger. And, Father, I just thank you for me personally for allowing this show to happen, for the venue that you've given us, Father. We pray that it will go out and help somebody else. So that's all we want to do, Lord, is just plant seeds and water seeds, but you get the increase in the end. We thank you. We love you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, guys. We love you guys. Appreciate you always supporting Real Talk Radio. Don't forget to check out the website, www.forrealtalkradio.com. You can actually listen to the show live through the site. You can listen to archive shows. See what we look like. Go to realtalkradio.com. Check out Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays with TJ. Comes on at noon Eastern Standard Time. He's the man who pays for all this out of his own pocket, out of his own benevolence. So we thank you, TJ. And nothing else. We'll see you guys next week. Hey.
Thank you for checking out this episode of Real Talk Radio. Be sure to check out our YouTube channel and Facebook page, or drop us a line at 4realtalkradio@gmail.com. That's the number 4, realtalkradio@gmail.com. Man, send your comments, concerns, criticisms, or show ideas. We would love to hear from you. Till next week, we out.